Welcome to the University of Badassery podcast. This is CJ Ortiz, and I am the mental motivator. Seated to the right hand of my dark throne is the fire-breathing professor of ass kickery, the dean who destroys all things douchebaggery. He's the squadron leader at the Keep the Blaze Alive coaching squad. He's the epitome of toxic masculinity. He's none other than Patrick Heavy Metal McNamara.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we usually say that if you want to be a badass, you have to kick ass. First ass you need to kick
is your own, bro. That's so freaking true.
That's the University of Badassery. We're not saying we're the badasses. We're not saying we're not the badasses. We're in a community of badassery. Our job is to extract the badassery to do some podcasts about said subject. Mm-hmm. And I just posted something on Instagram telling everybody that, believe it or not, we're podcasting again. Because it wasn't too long ago that we actually did this. So
Yep. We went from monthly to biannual to annually.
That's right.
To now we're like every other month again.
Somewhat frequent. Yeah.
Sort of.
Yes, right. Lots going on. Good things are happening. We've been shooting vlogs all day today, so we tack on the podcast while we're doing that, since we're going to make the trip out to see Pat Mac. My son, Joe, is with us again doing all the filming. Joe does such a great job. Thank you, Joe, by the way.
Thanks, Joe. Dang, man.
Good to have your family working with you, man.
Artist in action.
That's right. So this is actually episode 22 of the University of Badassery podcast. Not that we're counting, but it just says it right here on my notes. But this show is sponsored by Pat Mac.
Well, we have a couple sponsors. One, all the good things in life, right? So bourbon, coffee, energy.
That's right.
So we have Taconic Distilleries, the Taconic out of upstate New York. Bourbon, really good quality stuff. These have our personalized labels right there. So,
About that.
Yep. But I'm a bourbon guy. I have go-tos when I go to a pub or a bar or something like that. But man, I mean, this is, for those who have tried it, they know it's spectacular.
Right.
You know, it's a really good, smooth bourbon, and the bottles don't stay full in my house for very long.
I told Joe, I think yesterday, I said, I don't want to forget to bring a bottle, which I did, because the last time yours was empty.
Because I had empty. Yeah, I was displaying an empty bottle last time I was here. We also have our buddy Wes Whitlock from Rogue American Apparel, also owns Invader Coffee. So Invader Coffee out of Austin, Texas. Yeah. We don't have crap on our table.
No, there's nothing. No.
You know, if you don't like good coffee, drink whatever it is. Drink your gimmicky coffee.
Right.
But this is good. This is good stuff. This is also a personalized label. This is my own blend, the T-Max Blaze Ops Blend Double Dark, baby. Double Dark.
It's so good.
Yep. Yummy. And, oh, man, I love the new bags, too, because they're sealable.
Yeah.
They're resealable. And then also our clean energy friends at Kill Cliff. I just finished one of these ignites. I might have to have another one. It might be a 2 ignite day.
It's good stuff, man. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
Good clean energy, antioxidants, B vitamins,
electrolytes,
clean caffeine, all that stuff. Yep. So, yeah, thanks to our sponsors.
Yeah.
They rock. They rock.
The other sponsor would be the Pat Mac Keep the Blaze Alive coaching squad, which is something we would encourage you to join. Mac goes far beyond Instagram. He goes far beyond YouTube.
I go far beyond driven.
He goes beyond this actual podcast. So it's great because there's a lot of interaction with the squad. A lot of squad members have become very good friends and close associates. So right now, 500 plus members in the squad. It is basically online, but we do have, for our highest tier, which is tier 1, we do have a couple of live events. But then also, I've got one, I think, coming up towards, the end of August. I think some of the tier 1 members are coming out again.
Yep, just to goof off here at the range, and little range time, little pub time. Yep, and no idea how many will show up. We don't even have concrete plans. We have a date. We have a spot on a calendar.
Right.
And it's gonna be fun. There'll probably be meat and bullets and booze
And
involved.
booze, yeah. So, so it's an online coaching thing. Now you say coaching, what do you mean by coaching? Well, first of all, there's interaction. You're having access to Mac in a way you don't obviously have on social media. So there's lots of Q&A, tons of Q&A. And that's just not just on the live stream where they're able to, type in questions that we do on a private live stream on YouTube. But then also for the tier 1, you have the Zoom calls, those are 2 hours, and that's face to face. So it's really, really awesome. But what came out of this, which has become really the best part, is what we've described before, the skill set. Just a treasure trove of people with experience and skills and careers and content. So in other words, it's not just coming from right here. It's actually coming from within the squad itself.
I would say that almost the majority of it is squad generated information. On our online shareware, I am always blown away at how eclectic the group is, the squad. And like you said, the massive skill sets, that we have, they're just all over the map.
Right.
And when people share stuff online, whether it's their victories, their defeats, even where they're looking for help, their projects, or they're just kind of showing us what they do at work.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. I'm like, damn, man, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it could be literally anything. I've seen guys one day training a bunch of firemen. The next day, it's somebody chopping down a massive tree out somewhere in Idaho. Then it's somebody who's teaching in their classroom. Then the next one is a Southwest Airlines pilot. The next one is a doctor. He's
coming out of surgery.
These are all members of the squad, and so. In other words, you don't have to be on your last leg. You just need help getting out of the hole. That's fine, but it's just to come to be sharpened. It's to come to level up, as you like to say a lot, Mac. It's to take things to kick your own ass. So it's really, really awesome. We encourage you to join. It's on Patreon. We do the private community on Facebook. I know you probably hate Facebook. We get it. We understand. But if you have an account, or you can just set up just a simple pseudo account, whatever you can use to participate. Trust me, it is well worth it. But if you want to learn more, go to patreon.com/coaching squad.
Yep. Hope to see you there.
Yeah. So anyway, University Badassery episode 22. Once again, we're being prompted by a book that Mac has read. This is one he shared with me as well as the squad sometime back, and it's a book called Tough: Building True Mental, Physical, and Emotional Toughness for Success and Fulfillment by Greg Everett. Mac, how did you come across this title?
He is somebody that I follow, and he follows me online.
Okay.
So he's incredibly credible in the strength and conditioning industry.
Okay.
So Olympic level coach.
Right.
And he's very well versed in a variety of different skills, whether it's MMA, shooting, tactics, climbing, mountaineering. So he's not a one show pony. He's very well versed in a variety of different skills. And so we just chatted online. He told me about the book he was writing, or this book, and can he send me a copy? And I devoured it. It's not something that we could sit here and have a discussion on, like the story of the book, because it's not a storybook. There's no plot line or anything like that. It's just for me, it's a lot of good information, and most of it, to tell you the truth, was affirmation for me. And you were saying this too. It's you and I both share a lot of the same ideas that this Greg Everett has. I know that I say them differently. I verbalize them differently to whether it's people on my coaching squad, whether it's people I'm training on the range. But but we share a lot of the same values, a lot of the same beliefs. And what I really liked too about this one particular book, Tough, is that anybody can benefit from it.
Right.
Whether you're in the fitness industry, which when you read through it, it really doesn't have that much to do with fitness.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Or you're in business, either with somebody else, by yourself, or under somebody, or whether you're a college student or a family man, you're going to benefit from this book. To me, it was like a treasure trove of an amalgamation of just a whole bunch of ideas. I'm one of those highlighters when I go through a book. So I'm a dog ear and highlighter. So this one's just got tons of dog ears and yellow yellow highlight marks in it all the way through it.
Yeah, it was what I was surprised to find, because I anticipated that it would be more built around the physical, training and that sort of thing. So I was surprised to find its philosophical bent, that it was arguing a point of view. And like you just reiterated, I found so much that it's even in some places he even worded it very similar to the way I would actually word it. And certain things that you would not expect to find in this, which again made it very harmonious with what I do with mental motivation. And and let me just say, for some people who are watching this for the first time, they know who you are. I do my own thing on the side, which is motivational, and it's directed toward a particular audience, music-oriented. However, the actual content is something based on personal strength. However, what I put into it to help build strength doesn't have a whole lot to do with the physical, has a lot more to do with the mental, a lot more to do. And when I say the mental, doesn't mean just kind of grinding your way through life, but changing your beliefs about things that will then turn into strength. He is basically saying a lot of the very same things. And so the toughness here, it's actually in the subtitle, mental, physical, and emotional toughness, which is an interesting thing. Because I want to take initially from this book, but my goal is I want the Mac view of toughness. That's what I'm mostly interested in. Yours has been proven, yours has been tested, and so I think that's also what the audience is interested in. But how many times, Mac, have you met somebody who physically strong but emotionally weak? Sensitive.
I can't count the amount of times.
Maybe it's the majority.
You know what? I don't think you're off track there. When it could be the majority. The physically strong and mentally or emotionally weak. I don't think you're off track there.
Well, let me ask you something.
By saying that it could be the majority.
Because, I didn't grow up being the biggest kid in the world, so I never learned to rely upon stature for things. But if you've always been kind of that big kid or whatever, and you were always playing football or doing things like that, you can become reliant upon those things, and then you don't necessarily build up the emotional or mental side. Whereas a kid like me and even you before your transformation, every day at public school was like being hazed in a fraternity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was bullying.
Yeah.
Bullying there is a benefit to a degree.
To a degree. Absolutely.
Because it does prepare you for things.
I know I've grown from it, from getting bullied and knocked down.
Yeah.
And so, I was already starting early on in life, realizing that, holy crap, man, I need to get tough, but not like lifting weights, getting bigger and stronger, faster, and being a better fighter, but just able to even put up with, tolerate that kind of negative or crass behavior from another individual. And It was either sink or swim for me when it came to that.
Well, you didn't in school. There was no safe spaces. There was we weren't. Not everybody got a trophy.
Right.
All the stuff that we all say now. So there was not a lot of protection. You didn't have a lot of options. Your parents weren't around. Oftentimes, you get bullied and you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because what qualified as bullying now.
Yeah.
Didn't qualify as bullying then.
No, I mean ours was classic bullying, where you got pulled, you got stuffed in a locker, punched after school, chased down this. How many times were you chased down the street?
Yeah, I was chased quite a few times.
Yeah. And you learn to run.
You learn to either run or scale a fence, or you also learn that I deliver a newspaper to that guy's house if I could make it to his front door.
Yeah,
and knock.
That's right. Yeah. You know, this is a kind of a side note, but I was talking about this to my kids one time. I remember several times, especially with like baseball coaches and whatnot, or neighbors, like single guys who were probably in their 20s at the time because we lived with a single mom, and we would literally go into their apartments. Mm-hmm. Like I'd go hang out at my coach's house, and it would be me and my coach. I was never touched. I was never anything. Right. You didn't think anything of that. So yeah, if you knew certain neighbors that if I can just get to their house, that's basically like getting to family.
Yep.
In a way.
Yeah.
But that's what bullying does. But you didn't know as a kid that these things were preparing you for anything. I mean, it's kind of vogue now for us, for our generation, to pick on. We were just talking about millennials offline, because everybody's kind of ridiculing Gen Z, millennials. But in actuality, there's some really quality traits in some of these next generations. There's a lot of quality people. Again, I know it's popular right now to kind of pile on these generations, but no, there's some of the good qualities and things that we saw in our generation are still there, in kids today.
Yeah, some of them. But it's our duty and responsibility to pass those things down to as best we can, and that's in the wake of all of the like internet fodder that's out there and everything. We need to be able to somehow bridge that gap, get through that fodder, and still have a positive influence on those coming up, the next gens.
Right.
And it's tough to do, man, because there's a lot of fog out there right now.
Now one thing I'll say about you, and I've met a lot of guys like you who are on social media. You've vocalized, I know many times to me and probably publicly as well, that you're very conscious of the fact that young people, even little kids, are watching your content.
Yep.
So there is a very real attempt by you to do your part with just your social media platform, but being a dad, being someone who's worked with a lot of people one-on-one, I mean, how do we toughen up, if you will, without getting ridiculous like maybe somebody's overbearing dad was?
All we have to do is set that example. So, for instance, understanding that I have a lot of little kids following, for instance, my basic dude stuff.
Right.
I know I have a duty and responsibility to present them with good, clean, and fun content.
Yeah.
And so, but it's going to make them tougher too.
Right.
Because what they're seeing is, is a sound character, somebody who's committed, all this stuff. And the toughness isn't necessarily about me working on a heavy bag,
right,
shooting guns, that kind of thing. It's being able to prepare a meal, make a good cup of coffee for my bride,
right,
make your bed in the morning, being able to tie a double Windsor tie,
right,
those kind of things. So I appreciate the position that I'm in that I get to positively influence a lot of younger people. I'm talking like some of them are little, like 5 years old, up to teenagers.
Yeah.
And they'll send me examples of their basic dude stuff videos all the time. And it's great, being able to pass that kind of mindset down to them,
right,
it's very fulfilling.
Now, I want to get into the definition. He defines toughness this way. He says that true toughness is defined by the four elements of character, capability, capacity, and commitment. Who are you, and are you secure in that identity? What are you able to do? What are you able to withstand? What are you willing to do? What's the Pat Mack definition of toughness? What are words that come to mind?
A lot of mine would mirror
Right.
would mirror his, because what do we mostly think of? We think toughness. We think being able to withstand harsh elements.
Right.
Being resilient.
Right.
all the buzz
Right.
phrases.
Right.
What else do we think of when we being able to withstand adverse weather conditions?
Right.
It's really not necessary. That's a component of it, right?
Right.
That's a portion of it. But I think big ones are like how he put it: the commitment, constantly building and on
Right.
your own character.
Right.
Not being, because your character's not set in stone.
Right.
There's always, it's malleable. You're always allowed, and it's permissible to improve and to kind of hone out the character that we have made for ourselves. Another big one too is what was the one I was just thinking of? Oh, being disciplined. And I know he doesn't use discipline as one
Right.
of the traits here,
Right.
but I think discipline, and I always talk about this with like Rebecca, how she's got great study ethic,
Right.
her ability to study. She's got great discipline. And I think that's being tough too, being disciplined,
Right.
in your everyday life, in your everyday mannerisms, in your everyday routine, in your everyday chores, being disciplined, I think is a big portion of what I would consider how one should define toughness.
Right. So you mentioned character, and this is an interesting one. And again, this goes into my own personal beliefs. I define success as maximize all that you are. That's your character. All that you are, all that you can do for a purpose greater than yourself.
Right.
You'll find fulfillment. He's got the word fulfillment in his subtitle. So and he starts with character, which he says character is who we are and what we value. We choose our character and actively support it through our daily decisions and the way we speak and behave. Now, you alluded to this, and he makes the argument that, listen, you can change. You can't just go through life always saying, well, I'm angry because I'm Irish,
Right.
or I'm this because I'm German, or this because of this, or this because of that. In other words, you can't hide behind those things. There's an imposition there for you to change. So, but it's not typical for someone to suggest that character, which takes you into moral things, becoming a particular person based on a particular set of values, that how does that equate to toughness? Well, as he says, you're going to have daily decisions. And how many of those decisions, it's not just making a decision about your finances or your job, it's how you react. It's choices that you make in your interactions with people. The more moral you are, it would seem to me, then the more you're based on a stronger foundation. Like for you, you're really good about this. I'll tell people, I said, how do I describe Mac? And what comes to mind is a Bible verse. When Jesus, a dude comes up to him that he's never met before, and Jesus says to him, because he knows about him, because he's God, and he knows his heart, and he says, behold an Israelite in whom there is no guile. Guile. There's no deception. There's no whatever manipulation or anything going on in him. That's how I describe you. It's what you see is what you get. There's so many times when I've asked you things and you said, "Nah, I'm not going to do that."
Right.
And it's like you're not even tempted. You're just like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that."
Yep.
And that's character, right? But that's strength.
Yeah, and I'm not sakified with who I am, and I don't think any of us should be 100%.
I'm not satisfied with how you are.
Right. Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, we should seek to improve ourselves.
Yeah.
One of the things I know, man, I'm just always fortunate that I have a really good relationship with my wife. We could talk about all kind of stuff, and I'm not saying she points out character flaws, but if she sees or recognizes an issue with, let's say, how I interacted with somebody, for example, she's going to tell me.
Yeah.
And without being ugly about it. And I'm going to think about it and go, yeah, you're right. Ooh, I'm going to watch that from now on, and a lot of times it's little stuff.
Yeah.
But we can't make these giant leaps and bounds. We need to fix ourselves little by little. Otherwise, it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
It's just like anything, like a diet. You can't lose 20 pounds in a week. You have to take that stuff off gradually in order for it to adhere. Same with character. I mean, I'm pretty introspective. I want to make sure that, not that I don't care what other people think about me.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I want to represent the best version of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there's a flaw and she could point it out, or somebody else, or if I get a look from somebody or a reaction, or if I recognize that the way I'm doing something during the day, whatever it may be, and if I find that it's wrong or that I'm not putting my heart into it, I'm going to try to correct that little by little, incremental improvements, incremental.
Yeah. So it's funny where character shows up. We could spend all day talking about just social media comments like YouTube or Instagram,
Yep.
and you see character or the lack thereof on display constantly. I'm thinking even now, because I just posted some of the videos from the beginner pistol course where Chris Costa came and joined you.
Right.
And I had such a great time with him. Great conversationalist, humble, willing to help, just enthusiastic about being there. You wouldn't have thought he was anybody as far as that goes.
Right.
But lo and behold, I looked at the YouTube comments. And what do I get? A bunch of spewing from people who have their opinion about something. And of course, whatever he did, it was not like anything. It was like theatrics or something. It was like something just completely. I'm just sitting here thinking, man, you must live in the lap of luxury where that's the thing that pisses you off.
Yeah, right.
But I'm thinking, here you are on YouTube making comments ridiculing two people who they themselves would never do this.
Right.
They're not on social media ridiculing others. The thought never even crosses their mind.
Yep.
I spent lots of days with Mac, and I spent that day with Chris Costa, and two professional gentlemen who are out to help people and do good things in the world, having a good time with firearms, and how people can wade through that and still find the negative. To me, that's a character flaw.
Yeah, it's a great example too, and because it's a great example because we see so much of it on the interwebs, those character flaws. And to your point, I can't remember ever, and I can't fathom in the future ever getting online to criticize somebody, or to post a snarky comment.
Right.
When I see those comments, I'm thinking, this is one unhappy person.
Has to be.
They're very unhappy.
Yeah.
They got nothing going on. So
I feel for their spouse.
Yep.
I feel for their kids,
Yeah.
because that attitude's got to show up other places,
because
man.
how you do something is how you do everything, So there's some
showing
crossover
up
there.
I bet you're yelling and screaming in the car, taking the kids to the movie theater, and I bet they're scared when you get home because mama has to tell the kids, well, daddy's had a long day at work. Let's let him have his beer. He's going to need some time before.
Treats his wife like shit.
Yeah. Dude, you're pathetic.
Yep.
All right. So character is a huge part of what we say, how we behave, that sort of thing. Capability is his second one. He says capability is a growing and broad array of abilities that allow us continually increasing self-reliance. He's talking our language now, bro.
Right.
We are big on self-reliance.
Yep.
Because this is your philosophy of life.
Yeah, man. And how many times have I said it way prior to reading this? The more you know, the less you have to rely on others to help you out in life.
Right.
There was one key point here too, when it comes to capability, but it was also in commitment, is the more you learn, the more capable you are learning other things too.
Right.
And I use my dad or somebody like George Han as an example here, because they're both linguists.
Right.
So once you learn one language, it's going to be a little bit easier learning another one.
Right.
And once you learn those two, now you get into these like study patterns, and you figure out, all right, in order to crack this code on learning this language, these are the steps that I used before. So it's going to help me out in learning this third one, and then this fourth, and then this fifth.
Mm-hmm.
So like linguists, who speak 8, 10 languages, it's a big reason they can do that is because they've learned one other language.
Right.
Yeah. So man, I am a big believer in that capability. Being able to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I love the simplicity of this, which is to grow a broad array, he says, of abilities.
Right.
And now, as dudes, we'll just speak for dudes for a second because we identify as males.
Right.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah, Mac, what dude? And I'm just going to call you pronoun so that
Pronouns fine.
But capabilities doesn't all have to. Okay, well, I'll learn knife fighting. Right. I'll learn. It doesn't have to be that stuff. It may be where you say, okay, I need to learn. I want to start to really learn how to cook.
Right. I was just going to use that one as an example.
Well, then elaborate on that.
Well, teach a man to fish, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So there are so many adult grown men that I know who can't cook a meal, and I'm blown away.
Right.
I was at a guy's house recently who couldn't cook a burger. They were all charcoal briquettes. And I was flabbergasted. But being able to, I use the analogy a lot too, when I talk about like CST training and stuff like that, when I'm talking about my combat strength training, I'm trying to teach a person how to cook. I'm handing him, and then I'm displaying to him a bunch of different ingredients and giving him the ability to understand heat to metal to oil to vegetable to meat, and it's a great skill to have because you're helping out others, because you could now feed your family,
right,
feed yourself without getting sick. But it's also very it's food for the soul.
Food for the soul. Yeah,
we were talking about that earlier. So yeah, it's good for the soul. It's nourishing to the soul. And it's artistic. Cooking is artistic too. So it's good brain food. I'm using a lot of food here.
And if you're not
talking about cooking,
if you're not married, you can pick up chicks probably.
That's right
too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you could be of great service, as you were noted, to your family, especially your bride. Give her some time off if she's the one who happens to be doing a lot of the cooking. So there's skill set you can grow, fix it type stuff and lawn care and medicinal, all sorts of things. I mean, just from diet and nutrition over the past 6 or 7 years, I've learned so much that, and I know I can speak for my son over here, Joe, offline, because he's pretty serious too. Between the two of us, we can hack most of the stuff that most people are running to the doctor for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
just because of diet and exercise.
So just growing those abilities, and I would include in the abilities category what Mac was alluding to as well, which is going to be your knowledge base. Mm-hmm. Learn things, learn the ability to learn. I think it was Josh. What's his name? Josh. What's the kid's name? The movie Searching for Bobby Fischer is about him. Oh, his name escapes me, but American chess champion for the long time. Anyway, he has a book called The Art of Learning, and it's about that approach. It's how you broach these new.
I think
fields.
It's on my shelf up there.
It might be.
I think it is.
Josh Waitskin, I think is his name. Yep. Anyway, capacity is our ability not simply survive adversity, but to use it to our advantage and thrive in its wake. Now, you probably can address this better than just about anybody because you've had to survive things over the years.
Yep.
It's forced learning for you.
Yeah, and I like that. Being tough means always preparing for the exception.
Yeah.
And the certainty.
Yeah.
That adversity will find us eventually. So, I mean, that's so very well stated right there. So some of us are thrown into the fire,
Right.
you know, others have to throw ourselves in there,
Yeah.
you know, to increase that capacity. I was very fortunate in, military special ops upbringing to have been thrown into that fire and then more of it and more of it and more of it just piled on.
Did you know
constantly.
that you were?
Nah, heck no.
Okay.
No, not one iota. I had no idea. If somebody were to ask me, define what it is that we're helping build here, capacity wouldn't come to mind.
That's right. So at what point did you realize that something like this was actually happening and that you could aid the process?
Well, so I was special forces early on in life, and the skill, the amount of skills and the skill base was extreme. There was a lot of it, and I remember the first time working with just regular line soldiers, regular Army soldiers. They were blown away at my skill set and how much I knew and how much I was able to withstand, and my ability to deal with adverse weather conditions, hunger, that kind of stuff. So that was real telling to me because I was working with people who were the same.
Right.
So not until I was working with people who were different and didn't have the same capacity,
right,
did I realize, wow, man, this is something else, and I need more of this. Yeah.
Now, how do you deal with hunger like right now? Because we haven't eaten.
Yeah. How I deal with hunger is I say to myself, I know that we have food downstairs. Since we made meat today and beer can chicken.
Yeah.
We got veg down there. So, but yeah, I'm getting hungry again.
Yeah. So being tough, he says, means always preparing with the expectation and the certainty that adversity will find us eventually.
Eventually.
Isn't that like life? So,
yeah, right.
So what is your philosophy of the inevitability of adversity?
Well, I don't necessarily
because those who don't have it, let me just say it this way, tend to bitch a lot.
Right. Yep. Now, one of the things we talked about recently when it comes to adversity, because it will find us eventually, is I'm always thinking contingency planning. Like I said, all right, things are good right now. Right. I'm financially stable. Things are good on the home front. I'm not like working my ass off, but I know because adversity will find us eventually that bad shit can happen to us.
Right.
So always in the back of my mind, I know that, knock on wood, I never want this to happen, that one of my kids could have a fender bender.
Sure.
Or that when I'm walking the dogs and one of them get bit by a snake and I have to take him to the to the emergency vet. I know that stuff, that it's always there. So because I know that it's there, I think whenever it happens, a lot of it's small stuff. It's like, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. Worse things can definitely happen to me.
Right. So that's different because it is so close to where a lot of people where they have a struggle is they're like, things are really good, and now they're really worried.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because something's going to end. They just have this dread that fate is going to get them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you could be a fatalist like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not healthy to be a fatalist.
And so the more prepared you are, then
in this case we're talking mentally prepared too, knowing that adversity will find us eventually.
Right.
But it's not. But I don't look at it like it's not bleak to me. It's not like, oh man, bad shit's right around the corner. I mean, a meteor's gonna fall on my house in any second, and my cars are gonna explode. And I'm I'm not a fatalist, or I don't have bleak thoughts, but I understand 100% that bad things can happen, and they will when you least expect it. And this would be a good, because I think he talks about it a little bit in this book. That would be a good subtitle or sub definition of being tough, is how you deal with that adversity.
Yeah.
How are you able to pull yourself out of that mess, that metaphorical car wreck,
right.
or the catastrophe that happened with your family, or financial collapse, your own personal financial collapse. How can you recover from that? That could be a real true measure of toughness right there, being able to rebound from that.
Yeah,
quickly.
and again, I think this comes down to this is something that I talk about myself a lot. I'll often say, when they tell you to look on the bright side, we'll just look in the mirror.
Yeah, right.
Because you are the bright side.
Bam. Nice.
Right. And so I think the difference is, that adversity is coming. That the unexpected can happen. All of these things, but it's not going to ruin your everyday.
Nope.
Because that you are your own best solution.
Right.
You know what I mean? So whereas a lot of people, they're like, well, who's going to come save me?
Yep.
So they haven't learned that self-reliance we were talking about. They haven't learned, in other words, the thought of them depending on themselves scares the hell out of them.
Yeah, right.
I'm the last
it's
person.
Funny because one of the things we're going to talk about here is that unconditional self-love,
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself.
You do.
You have to, and the more you take care of yourself, the more you work on capability,
right,
the more you're going to believe in yourself.
Right.
And the more confident you're going to be. I think it's all just one big cycle of operation.
Yeah.
You're constantly working on this stuff, on your capacity, your character, and your capabilities. Because you have to, at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself. I like that. If you would look on the bright side, look in the mirror. Yeah, right,
you are the bright side.
Right, you are the bright side.
Well, this is, when I talk to people on my mental motivation stuff, and I always use the word self-improvement, they don't understand what that means. It's not a word they use,
right.
So they come to my page for daily motivation.
Yep.
It's like a fortune cookie, like a horoscope, a daily horoscope.
Yep.
Give me enough motivation to help me get through another bad day.
Right.
Give me enough inspiration, CJ, to help me keep tolerating this life that I don't like. And so I keep telling, no, the answer is in self-improvement. So they say, oh, yeah, well, yeah, self-improvement, I get it, because I really need to get over my anger. I said, no. You do need to get over your anger. What I'm talking about when I say self-improvement, it's across the board.
Yeah, right.
All of the increasing your skills, your knowledge base, and then I lose them.
Right. Yep.
Because that dude, in a way, it's tier 1 civilian. It's that special forces for civilian life.
Right.
They just like those regular army guys encountering you,
Yep.
a special ops guy. They're just amazed at how many things you can do and strong and the all that stuff. They're going to be amazed by. It's the same thing in civilian life,
Yep.
man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Most people are just trying to get over an issue. I broke up with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I get written things about, I think my wife's going to leave me. I'm like, well, bro, yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to reverse that. You can't do enough, to change the direction of that.
I just have an anecdote because we talk about this a lot about the little things you do or say to a person can have a profound effect.
Yeah.
It's just a quick anecdote because it has to relate somewhat to what we're talking about right now. The other day I was sitting at the pub with Rebecca and a guy pulls up that we know he's a chef at a nice restaurant in town. And he looked sad. And I said, "What's up, brother? How's it going?" He says, "I'm not having a good day." I said, "Well, what is it?" And his girlfriend had an affair. I said, "Well, stand by real quick. Let me get you a drink. What do you drink? JMO and ginger." "All right, I'll be right back." So brought that out to him. And then I went around the table and I says, you know what? I guarantee you, there was 4 of us there. I said, this has happened. You're not alone there.
Sure.
This has happened to every single one of us. And you know what? I hate to say this, but there's a every cloud has a silver lining.
Yep.
And you're going to get stronger from this experience.
That's right.
You're going to benefit from it eventually.
Right.
But we just chatted. He slugged that drink down. The way he walked away from that was a completely different person than how he arrived.
Yes.
I mean, he was pepping his step, bouncing to his car, you know, and, but,
it's amazing the power of a single thought.
right.
Yeah.
But I guess the point was he was on the road to correcting more than just that,
Sure.
you know, because now he had this good positive mental attitude.
Right.
So, you could have a profound effect on somebody, positive, profound effect by doing very little.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because, again, you can give them, and now it doesn't last forever.
Right.
You know, the next day, it's like, we used to talk about this in church where you could hear a message and it really inspired you, helped you to forget your problems for a little bit. The problem was your problems were driving a Ferrari and you were driving an old Ford because they were waiting on you when you got home.
Yeah,
right.
right.
But we, especially, again, it's going back to this thing of like a breakup or whatever. So many times people, when they call, they'll say, you know, what do I need to do? How do I get him back? Or, you know, should I be doing this? And I'm just telling them, listen, don't feed a fire that you need to go out, you know?
Oh yeah. Good.
And so the shift has to change to something else. And so I love what you just said there, you know, because it did. You could see the end result, and just because nothing circumstantially changed in his life.
Right. Nothing.
It was just words. So when I would like do my videos or stuff, I tell people, listen, how do I know this is right? Because your mind is already changing just by listening. Mm-hmm. Your circumstances didn't change, but you feel a little stronger. Yep. You got some perspective on things. That's one thing about pain. It sucks you into the moment and you lose sight of the big picture. That's how you get frustrated, angry. It's whenever you lose sight of that big picture, you know, especially someone like him who's, you know, I've eaten his food. So,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's funny because one of the things I told him, I said, well, you know, here's one way to look at it. Now you're not spending as time with her anymore. You could pull more shifts and make more money. He went, yeah, I can make more money now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So anyway, adversity is coming. You can bet your life on that. And so I like to tell people, you can't escape trials in life, so you might as well grow strong in today's.
Huh. All right. Yeah.
Right?
Good. Yep.
It's do the heavy lifting. Now, commitment. Commitment is what allows the other elements of toughness to actually be put to use. Without commitment and the resulting action, they're nothing but ideas. You could really unpack this idea of commitment. It's one of my favorite words. But commitment, bro.
Yeah, so for me, the easiest way to kind of explain or define commitment in an individual's life is simple as diet and exercise.
Yeah.
You know, something like that, diet and exercise. And when we think commitment, we sometimes will think about discipline too. And I love this line. I had to highlight it right now. Discipline is not a substitute for motivation. It could only stand in for enthusiasm.
You say that. You say it differently, but you say that all the time.
How many times have I said that in the past couple months?
Yeah, on the last podcast.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. But commitment, you know, that diet and exercise, you know, being committed to not turning your body into a human garbage can, to, you know, ingesting the right foods so that you can what's the word I'm looking for? Not so that you're not susceptible to germ sickness as much as the unhealthy person is.
Right.
And then, you know, as far as the exercise goes, you know, you got to think that it's you're doing that not just for yourself, but for your loved ones too,
Right.
because you got to think self-preservation, longevity. And like I tell my kids too, strong people are harder to kill.
Well, I like what he said here. He says, much of what we do every day is the product of habit rather than discipline or conscious choice. In other words, we're on autopilot.
Right. Autopilot.
And that doesn't take commitment.
Right.
You don't have to re-up every day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You should be signing it. You should probably, people say, write out your goals every day. No, you should do is just keep printing copies of the same contract with yourself.
Yeah, right.
And just put out a blank one with a blank signature line, and you sign every day. This is my commitment. That's what you should do. Well, you should have a commitment contract page that you make yourself. Write it out for you. Customize it to you.
Yep.
My commitment is to be this, to be this, to do this, to be this to my family, and keep this attitude, and grow here and this, and to keep my body in, almost Boy Scout oath kind of thing.
Right.
And then put a blank signature, and just keep putting copies of that page in front of you every morning, and
Every
let them.
morning
You
sign the
sign.
contract.
I'm
Yeah,
re-upping for another day,
Re-upping.
another
Yep.
24 hours, because it only lasts 24 hours.
Yep. So it's funny, the autopilot, habit rather than discipline or conscious choice. And I was saying diet and exercise.
Yeah.
For those who aren't, who have a crap diet and they don't exercise, I always tell them, you have to stick with that for 3 months, because in 3 months, what happens is results that are going to stick, and it becomes a new normal, a way of life.
Right.
So autopilot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And so again, because it doesn't require commitment.
Right.
Doesn't require commitment to do things that are just habitual. So like muscle confusion, we need to confuse life a little bit in a way that stimulates growth. Isn't that the objective, right? To the confusion is to stimulate the body, because the body will adapt, and you're just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So, commitment, man, marriage, kids, for me now, dogs.
Right.
I tell you what, just as a side note, dude, I find myself now thinking, I can point out people who don't deserve the dogs that they have. When I know what it took to invest in my German Shepherds, I didn't have to, but it was a choice that I made, and I learned about what they needed. And so it's kind of like at the level of kids in the sense of structuring their life and taking care of their needs and all this sort of stuff. That takes commitment. I had to get out to your house today, got here about 10:30. You're about an hour and a half away, and I got things to take care of before I leave, but I've got to get 2 dogs to the park for a long walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't want to jack, let me just take it easy this morning. No, I've got to, because they're expecting it.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't want to.
They're looking forward to your commitment, bro.
They're looking forward to that commitment, yeah. So, but but what made it easy was that it's kind of habitual.
Yep, it's habitual. Yeah, it's autopilot.
So so that makes it easy to do it. But the commitment was that, no, I committed to it, so I'm going to go out and do that and make sure I can check that off the list. But that's what he describes: commitment, capacity, capability, character. I mean, obviously, these are his 4 things. You could go off on any one of them.
But I can't disagree with him.
No, I can't disagree with him at all. Yeah. But for me, I when I look at Mac, dude, I consider you kind of a great example of what we consider contemporary toughness, because you are now in the you're back in the civilian world. You're kind of that Batman who's walking around us. And so for people, it's good to see your different interests. It's good for them to see how you are, enthusiastic about your wife, about your life, about growing in certain things. So, and
I think what they see too is that I'm not one of those rest on the laurels type of guy.
Yeah.
Rest on your laurels. You know, I rarely reflect and go back and say, well, back when I did this and blah, 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 blah. So the lesson learned is be tough.
Right.
Because I was tough once. Yeah, but I'm also tough tomorrow, and I am going to continue to seek improvements in my daily life, with myself, with my soul, with my spirit, with my physicality, with my discipline, with my capabilities, all that stuff.
So this is for you, Do you feel like you grew into this way of looking at things, or?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Okay.
And a lot of that came with afterwards, after military.
Right.
A lot of it.
Well, that's interesting.
A lot of that. Yep, did. Well, because, in the military, you're part of a collective, really.
Right.
I mean, you're always looking to seek self-improvement because you want to level up. You want to be better than the next guy. You want to be not just an integral part of the team, but an asset versus a liability.
Right.
But out here in this other life, I have to take different roads. I have to think business, finances, long life, making other people happy. And that's a big one for me too, is the, what was that one thing? Contributors versus consumers, contributors versus consumers. I want to be more of a contributor.
Sure.
Now, I think I do pretty well at it right now, but can I do more? I'm sure I can, but we can choose to be contributors or consumers, and whether or not to use our unavoidable influence over those around us admirably. Yep. So that's one of the things I am constantly seeking to improve is my ability to be a contributor versus a consumer.
And so, the motive here is because you want to be able to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, but here's the motive here is knowing that I've helped improve some people's lives. I want to do more of that.
Right.
I want to do more of that. I want to have assets versus liabilities.
Sure.
I want the collective to be as strong as possible. So whether that means just good, mental being, mental toughness, or better, or having more capability,
right,
or even physical toughness.
I tell people when we talked about the monetization of a social media brand. So, Metal Motivation, which I've done for 13 years now, when people say, well, you do so much for free, I say, yeah, but I'm creating tens of thousands of little micro debts.
Right. Tens of thousands of little micro debts. Yeah, yeah.
In other words, I want to be sure that if I'm not there, my name is well spoken of. That I am safe with my followers. You know what I mean? The people who support the page and what have you. And because that's, to me, that is the key to monetization. It's to say, I'm going to turn myself inside and out to invest in the life of other people. I just don't see any higher purpose. I mean, you have the power to make the world a better place. There are people, whether it's a crazy dictator starting a war or just some narcissist who lives next door, right? There are people who are hell-bent on destruction.
Yeah. Some people just want to see the world burn.
Yep. So we have to be the antidote. We have to be the hero that opposes. We have to be the other chess pieces moving. And it doesn't all come down to one of us individually.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And I think, as a contributor, we enhance the possibility of creating other contributors.
Exactly. Like I tell people this way, I say, listen, what heavy metal did for me is what I do for others.
Right.
That's what it means to be a metal motivator, which means you can be one too, wherever your high tops take you. Right? Just go. What did Jamie Jost become the fuse?
Become the fuse.
Right? The one who ignites, inspires, helps, supports. And even though, again, we're talking about toughness, this is a broad definition of toughness, but his ideas of toughness were, not what you would typically expect in a book like this, which is why I'm thankful. I mean, he talked about something we didn't talk about, which is something that's big for me, was like fatalism. The people who resign themselves in life because they just don't feel like they can do anything about it, or that there's some mysterious plan that they can't escape. My dad was a loser, my granddad was a loser, my uncle was a loser, so I'm going to be one too. You know what I mean? That you can't break that pattern. You can't change and go and start a new. You could be the new patriarch of a new bloodline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can build your own, I like to say, your own trailer park aristocracy. You can be this new head of a whole new generation of people, of beings. We can reverse history. We can change history. We know there's a lot of problems. Everybody complains about it, right? I mean, I know that, but let's talk about solutions. And the best solution is always going to be mano y mano, iron sharpening iron, strike and ignite. You know what I mean? Just inspiring, encouraging, helping each other. Every bit of that helps.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Mac, I've got to ask you some questions.
All right.
From people who have written in.
Oh, snap.
How are you so cool? Question number 1. The question number 2, how are you so good looking? Was a dude who wrote that. Okay, number 1. How do you keep your composure and patience?
You know, I asked Rebecca about this question. I said, I don't know if I do keep my composure and patience. She goes, oh, no, you do. I said, really? I said, because sometimes I feel like I'm getting annoyed. She goes, well, I can see that. Like if you're around people, they don't know it. She said, trust me, you're doing pretty good. But here's a kicker. This is a big one. I have been conditioned.
Okay.
Because of past life, my past relationship.
Gotcha.
I was angry for so freaking long and impatient that I'm done with that. I'm just done with that. I'm tired.
Right.
I got real tired of being angry. So I was in a really bad relationship for a long time. I stuck with it for the sake of the kids. There was, not with me, but there was drugs involved, alcohol. She was delusional, schizophrenic. It was bad. I had everybody involved. I had the police, the school, the mobile crisis management, the magistrate, everybody. But I went through such a long period of life, being like angry and frustrated, that I finally conditioned myself, and I did that while I was in that relationship by carrying the tape recorder.
Right.
Remember that little magic pill? So the tape recorder, full disclosure, tape every conversation, wasn't just taping her, it was taping me.
Taping you. Good.
So this was to say, keep your mouth shut, think about what you're going to say prior to saying it. So the other thing is that deep centering breath, how do you keep your composure and patience? It's because I don't think that I have it, because I feel myself getting perturbed at times. So I had to ask her back, and she said, no, it's great. Now I know I am around her. Yeah. Because we have a really good understanding, and she's my Mary Poppins. She's practically perfect in every way. Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. So, I'm not gonna
blow that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blow that or my top around others. I have come unglued now.
Sure.
And sometimes it's been just, and other times it's been unjust. Yeah. And I've had to reflect, and I've had to live with that. And it's not a good feeling when you have to think about that, and you go, oh man, I came unglued, and it was just, but it was in excess.
Yeah.
So deep centering breath, deep centering breath, deep centering breath.
Number 2, kind of related, regarding stress inoculation training. How do you maximize from interaction to gunfight?
See, I didn't really. I think it was the way this one was worded, but I think what this guy was talking about was like escalation of force.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
I think so. Yeah.
Escalation of force. So when it comes to escalation of force, now there's a delineation here. Sometimes you're allowed, it's permissible to size up the situation. Other times you have to go into immediate action.
Okay. And
the situation's going to dictate that.
Right.
But how well are you equipped to deduce whether or not you are it's permissible to size up the situation or it requires immediate action is based on how many times you've been put into those situations. So regarding stress inoculation training, how do you maximize from interaction to gunfight? I think time will teach you, and we are definitely products of our training. We're products of our training, how we train. But you have to think of both those, right? So you're talking escalation of force. You need to be able to size up the situation or go into immediate action. And sometimes size up the situation might be a nanosecond. But I think still size up the situation as quickly as you can.
Right.
Yep. Size it up.
I know the person who asked the question, he's in elite law enforcement. So I know this comes from, real life for him.
Yeah, good.
Number 3, what's one piece of advice you would give a person entering adulthood?
Ooh, man, I wrote down a few things on this one and they're kind of all over the map. See, I was thinking about my kids or myself.
Okay.
So that's what I was thinking of. Like with myself and with my kids, remember when I finally got custody of them, the one thing I talked to you about is they don't understand the value of $1.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and how do you do that? You put them to freaking work and they have bills at an early age, whether that's, hey, if you want a car, you've got to put gas into it.
Right.
That kind of thing. So that's one. Another one that I don't think we're good at until we start investing in property. And I don't mean property like acreage, but property. It could be a tool. It could be a piece of photo equipment.
Right.
Is taking care of your equipment.
Right.
Because I think people, when they're young, they're given a lot of stuff and it's not theirs. They didn't spend $1,000 on this widget. Right. Somebody bought it for them or it was gifted to them. So, taking care of property. And that's not just your own property. That's other people's property.
Right.
And until you have property of your own, you really don't understand the value of it.
Sure.
But once you start, investing in property, and let's say property that's going to provide you with some kind of monetary gain,
right,
you realize, ooh, that's lifeblood. I need to take care of this thing,
right.
But there was another one. Let me see. Oh, this goes along with character. Do more for others than you would yourself. So that's a tough one to get across to somebody entering adulthood.
Right.
Unless they've been through like a scouting program or something like that and they've had to do good deeds. But I think that too many young people today are they're self involved. They're self absorbed.
Yeah.
And they really don't understand that. So, and then I have one last one. Don't waste time.
Well, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's
a big one.
And I realized that last, but I should have put it first.
Because you think you got all the time in the world.
Right. And you don't. Yeah. So I look at like, the amount of time that I wasted when I was younger, before entering adulthood, and what I could have done with that time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't think about time when you're 18, 19, 20, 25. You think you have all the time in the world. You're not thinking, well, this might be a waste of time. It doesn't come. It's not on. It's not on any one of your burners, front or back.
One of my quotes, I'm quoting myself a lot today. It's bad form, I know, but this is what you're getting. I'll say character isn't seen by what you own, but how you manage what you own.
Huh. Yeah.
Because it's the idea of governorship to
Right.
teach them that you're ruling over something. You have property and you've got borders. It's your little empire. It might be your room right now, but that can expand into a home and all the property and all of these other things. And what you do with the little stuff is what you're obviously going to do with the big stuff. So it's preparing them for. This is different. I know leadership is a big buzzword. I'm not talking about leadership. I'm talking about governorship.
Yeah.
Because the governor of a state can talk about leadership in the sense of, okay, what do you mean? How I lead my staff, how I lead my White House staff or my whatever,
Right.
That's different than governing the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
So that you take so many other things into consideration when you're thinking about governorship as opposed to leadership. But okay, number 4. Now, this had some different parts to it.
Yeah, I saw that. We don't even need to get into the courage, adaptability, trust.
Okay, so
respect,
what is
excellence.
what is the best teamwork drill?
Right. So that's a question that you can't answer.
Okay.
But I'm going to go into it anyway, because I don't know for what team, what age group, what's your end state, teamwork drill. So I'm kind of into these.
Okay.
Because I like the human study aspect of it,
Sure.
human study. So a good one is the one I built for the last Tier 1 squad event. You missed that day. I don't know if you saw a portion of it or not, but I had established a team leader. So let's say 6 team leaders.
Right.
And it was a real cheesy type of way to establish them. It wasn't testing how physically fit they were or how clever. It was like pick a number type of thing, you know. And with each team leader had to pick 4 team members. So now you had 5-man team, men and women. But I told them up front too, I says, check it out. The event, the teamwork drill that we're going to do is there's going to be a physical event. There's going to be a shooting one. There's going to be some deductive reasoning. There's going to be a puzzle, and I gave them all these different, so they can't just pick and choose like they're picking elementary school dodgeball. They have to think, ooh, all right, I can't just pick the biggest and the toughest. I need somebody who's going to be good at like deductive reasoning. Somebody who's going to be really good under pressure and it could build a puzzle because I built those pentominoes.
Oh,
and it was such a it was fascinating watching this happen. And what one would think would be the power hitter teams were DFL. They were last place. They were absolute freaking last place. But it's not a question that one could answer, but I would construct a drill that doesn't give authority or strength to any one type of individual or one skill set. That the skill sets are all over the map. So now within the team, they have to pick and choose because they don't know. These are all blind. They're not seeing any one specific drill. They just know that one person's, and that's such a blanket statement. Deductive reasoning. Oh my God. Puzzle. What could that mean?
Right.
Right. A physical event. That could be balance.
Sure.
Not just lifting something over your head.
Right.
So I have fun with those because it's a human study for me. It's a I like watching how people pick teams and how they select the person for the specific skill set and then watch the catastrophe ensue, after that, or the complete freaking success.
That's right.
But I'm good at those. I'm good at building those. But to his question also, number 4, you could Google that.
Right.
Because I Googled it. The best teamwork drill, and I didn't like any of them.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like it. I like the ones I built.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right. Number 5, what's the best approach? Oh, we never get a holster question.
Yeah.
What's the best approach to choosing a holster on or any gun accessories? Do we really need a lot of extra gear?
All right, so 2 separate questions right there. I'm going to answer the second one first. Do we really need a lot of extra gear? Well, you tell me. You said it right there. Extra gear.
It's extra.
Extra gear means extra.
Yeah.
Means you don't need it.
Right.
So you just answered that question right there.
I think they probably see people
Yep. Absolutely.
have all this crap on.
Yeah. See, I am meat and potatoes on the range anymore. I don't have a battle belt. I mean, I own them, but on the range I have a holster. If it's a pistol course, I have a holster and a pistol.
Yeah.
I don't even have a mag pouch.
Right.
Those mags are in my pocket. Now, so no, you don't need a lot of extra gear. Make it, get practical gear. You don't need a lot of extra, and it depends what you're using this for too.
Right.
Is it all range stuff? So you should have a range bag and a timer and a good holster. Now, man, you're going to either love me or hate me for answering this question, whoever this guy was. The best approach to choosing a holster for any gun or accessories. Make them. I looked on Amazon yesterday because I've made a bunch of holsters.
Okay.
So you get Kydex, you get the molds, you get a heat gun, you get a Dremel tool, that kind of thing, and you watch 3 YouTube tutorials, and you make that stuff. Amazon actually, I looked yesterday, they have like a complete kit with even the press. The press, for the Kydex after, so the mold.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I'm looking for. But I would encourage you to make that stuff. And then guys are going to ask, wow, where'd you get that holster? Who made that one? You can say, well, I made it myself.
Right.
I just think that there's a real pleasure to that,
Sure.
because you could get everything. The belt loops, the grommets, all the tools. It comes in one kit. It's $200 freaking dollars. I looked yesterday. I was like, man, I wish I knew that before because I've made a bunch of holsters, but I bought all this stuff individually.
Oh, gotcha.
And I had to search for it. So maybe it wasn't around, a complete kit whenever I was started, but there you go.
Number 6, how do you keep the wrong people out of your life when they're not necessarily bad people? They're just not a good fit for you. I don't want to be a dick about it.
I don't want to be a dick about it. So this was a tough one I had to think about. But then again, for me, I don't put myself out there. I don't get myself invited to backyard barbecues and out to dinners and stuff like that. I just don't put myself out there because I set up boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think some people are more susceptible to that, to having wrong people enter their life because they don't look for the warning signs. Like, for instance, over enthusiasm.
Okay.
On that person's part.
Right.
Not necessarily bad people, just wrong people.
Right.
So an abundance of enthusiasm. To me, that's a little bit of a red flag,
Sure.
when they're like in your shit.
Sure.
And they want to befriend you but man, I keep boundaries up, and I limit not just my intake, but what I am saying to them. And then I look for just red flags like I would in any relationship. Just red flags. It's like, I'm going to distance myself from this dude because you get 3 beers in him and he gets belligerent.
Right.
And I know that 4 or 5 beers, it's probably going to get ugly.
Right.
So he's the wrong person. He's not necessarily a bad person, but he's the wrong person for me, or the wrong people, or this guy and his wife, they're a little bit creepy. There's something off about them, just a little bit creepy. Man, I just don't run into it a lot.
So getting those people out of your life is one thing. Mm-hmm. What needs
but
to
don't let them in.
Yeah, what needs to change right now is that they don't let them.
Right. Yep.
They need to be much, much more circumspect about that process. Number 7, do you think heavy metal will still be around in 30 years? New bands, etc. Rock seems to be dying, and people are now only listening to classic rock.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't listen to classic rock ever.
But I think when people say they're listening to rock now, it's what's the band they're listening to?
Chevelle?
Yeah, right. So in other words, the rock would still be the AC/DCs and Led Zeppelins and that sort of thing.
So in 1979, I bought a Black Sabbath album, Paranoid, for a quarter at a yard sale. I listened to it on a turntable over and over and over. 1979, my parents told me that genre of music would be dead after 5 years. This is 1979. Black Sabbath is still making freaking music.
Right.
But let me put it to you another way too. I think it will. And in order to ensure its safe, long life, is only one band has to emerge. Only one more Metallica,
Right.
to last 30 or 40 years.
Right.
Because look at the influence they had.
Sure.
They're the biggest musical act on the planet is a heavy metal act.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so. And I thought about it. I thought about all these. Another thing I thought about yesterday when I was reading that question and thinking about it is more and more, you know what I see a lot of is little kids getting guitars and hammering the most complex heavy metal riffs.
Right.
And I'm talking young girls and boys, you know, because they're looking for that challenge. And where are you going to get the challenge from musically? It's not going to be from country and western.
No.
There's no challenge there.
It won't even be in an AC/DC song.
No, definitely not. That's a basic beat and pretty freaking
Bar chords.
Yeah, bar chords. Yeah, you know, you want the complex music. You know, you're talking Lamb of God, Metallica, you know,
Megadeth,
stuff like that. You're and if young kids who are interested in challenging themselves musically, they hear that for the first time and they're going, "Oh my God, man, this is what I want. This is what I want to play." So all we need is one more band, and then others will follow suit. Because the other thing with metal is, people listen to metal because they like to go to metal shows because they like the energy, and they like the energy, and they like the performance. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think so. Yes, short answer, yes.
Short answer, yes. Question number 8. This is in relation to the El Pres video. Why tack mag and not slide lock reload?
Man, this is so. Where was that first question? How do you keep your composure and patience?
Because there was 2 people. So I think it was twice. I saw.
Yeah. I guess a good answer is why not?
Well, first of all, let's explain what it is.
Well, let me go back. Because I'm going to answer this one extensively here. But first off, why not? So attack reload, doing a let me answer your question with a question. When do we do a reload? When do we do a reload? Listeners, when do we do a reload? The answer is when we want to or when we have to. When is it more advantageous to do a reload? When we want to or when we have to? More than likely, when we want to versus when we have to. More than likely. Another question. How often, honestly now, do we practice tack reloads versus slide lock reload? How often? And most people, if they're honest, they go, ooh, definitely not as much. I definitely practice more slide lock reloads than I do tack mag reloads. So I think there's a greater chance, and if not, you should make it your chance. So whenever there's a lull in the fight, to do that tack reload versus a slide lock reload. And in order to do it an effective tack reload, you need to practice those. They really shouldn't be any or much slower than a slide lock reload anyway. So I hope I answered this. Think about it. When do we do a reload? When we want to and when we have to. What is the likelihood of doing one when we want to? The likelihood is very great. But we need to choose to do that.
So what's attack?
Do it when we want to. The mag reload. So doing a mag change when we want to. So let's say.
Okay, so slide lock means you're out.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. You're empty. Yep. I would rather do a tack reload than go empty.
Right.
Yep.
In one of your number 9, in one of your recent videos, you mentioned sandbags, but other than here, where are you using one as a cushion for the hammer? I can't really recall seeing you utilize it. In other words, you only use them to hit them with a hammer.
Yeah. I got that. And you know what? I guess I should use them more. I just been on the hammer and CMB kick more recently than the bags. But I used to throw the bags around.
So you're not anti-sandbag?
No, yeah. I love it, man. I love that brute force bag that I have. I love it. Because the cool thing about the bag too is that a lot of people will use the handles. I like to grab the material because it builds that distal phalanges. It helps build the distal phalanges. You know, that clawing, throat gripping strength. So yeah, I guess I'll have to incorporate those more in there. But I use them. Yep, I still use them a lot.
Number 10, how do you incorporate cardio, such as easy running, rucking, etc., into your weekly program? You do get this.
Yeah. But this was a different. See how he worded this?
Yeah.
Most people say, where do you incorporate cardio?
Right.
This guy said, how do you incorporate cardio, such as easy running, rucking, etc.? Because that's his version of cardio, easy running, rucking, etc.
Right.
It could be anything, right? So your cardio can be could be bag work, it could be bicycling, it could be swimming, all those things. So I do a lot of that. But the other thing is, with my combat strength training system, the formula is to work in anaerobic chunks in circuit to near metabolic threshold to meet an aerobic goal. So you're working continuously for about 30 to 45 minutes. So you're working in circuit. So the heart rate is up the entire time. Mm-hmm. So you're getting cardio during that workout. Right. Too many people, the people who ask this are living in that, they're the same people who live in the sagittalistic world, where they're doing 3 sets of 10 on a bench press. They're not doing circuit training. Right. Because if they're doing circuit training, they're realizing they're getting cardio. Right. But I will, to be fair, incorporate some cardio, like the ski erg, for example. I'll get on that. Boring as hell. I'll do 25 minutes of just freaking skiing on that thing. 25 minutes. Or the cycling. Right. But how do you incorporate it? Incorporate it. So the question was, how do you incorporate it? I know it was directed to me. How do I incorporate it? But just throw it in there. But if you work the CST programming, you will realize that you are getting cardio because you are working out continuously from 30 to 45 minutes.
Cool. Number 11. Hey, like your videos. This technically wasn't a question, but we got a lot of them on one of the videos. But to blanket statement, LEOs don't know how to fight. Mm-hmm. Their job is to apprehend, and taking a perp to the ground to apprehend is better than keeping them on their feet. LEOs don't usually stay squared up to duke it out. Somewhat surprised at the statement, but still going to watch your videos. Oh, thank you.
Yep. So I don't think this, because the comments that were similar to this. Oh, wait, let me go back to question number 1. How do you keep your composure and patience?
That's fun.
Deep centering breath. So I don't think this guy watched that video through like clouded glasses,
Right.
And the people who commented similarly were doing the same thing, because I didn't blanket statement. I went back and watched it. I said most. Right. It wasn't I said most. And guess what? Guess who agrees with me on that? Most LEOs. Right. Most of them. So you look at the amount of comments there. Overwhelmingly, a lot of LEOs commented, I agree 100%. Most LEOs don't know how to fight. Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Most. So there was no blanket statement, number 1. Number 2, the reason for the statement, not blanket statement, is because what were we talking about? We were talking about how BJJ fighters will say that most fights go to the ground. What is this based on? Police videos. Right. That's what it's based on. Right. Police videos. So now you're seeing in these police videos, fights going to the ground, and cops should. And I think I said that in that video. Cops should know BJJ. Right. I'm pretty sure I did say that. Right. Because they should. Because like this guy said, apprehend, taking to the ground. Apprehend is better than keeping them on their feet. LEOs don't usually stay squared up to duke it out. I'm pretty sure I covered all that in that video.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the point of the video
Right.
to begin with. You were saying that this is the source of the statement
Right.
that fights always go to the ground. Therefore, you, Joe Civilian, should know how to do ground fighting as opposed to duking it out. So
Yep.
Max says this is the source of that for LEOs. So for us to go on that rabbit trail, to say that somehow you are
blanket statement, and
broad
that I
brushing.
don't understand
right,
that LEOs can't stand mano a mano and duke it out. I understand this. And they should be able to manipulate joints and do arm bars and all that stuff. They should be able to. So, man, I need to, because I'm pretty sure I was careful in my wording. Maybe I wasn't careful enough.
maybe not. I mean,
I thought I was pretty because whenever I'm talking fight stuff, I understand that people get very emotional about the topic.
Sure.
So I'm trying to be as PC about it as possible.
Right.
And I was careful not to blanket statement when I said most. Right. And guess what? Most LEOs agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Any conversation I have with LEOs, they agree. Yep. And they'll also, here's another blanket statement. That's not a blanket statement. Most LEOs don't get a lot of training time and don't shoot well. And most LEOs will agree with me on that. Now, the LEOs I see are badass, but these are guys who go to they'll out of their own pocket, man. They'll go to like 4 classes a year out of their own pocket, buy their own ammo. And so the guys I'm seeing, they're badass. And I'm thinking, man, it would be great if, I'd be in a fantasy world if all LEOs were like that.
Sure.
But that's not the case.
There it is.
Yeah.
Number 12, last question. I was wondering if you had any recommendations for whiteboards to get tasks done. I didn't know there were that many.
Yeah, I didn't know any. I didn't know that either. So I'm just gonna go with big, medium, small.
Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, that's probably helpful.
Big, medium, small. So my big one is on the wall, right? So it's a year calendar. So big calendar, it's on the wall, and it's got and each one of these whiteboards has a very specific duty.
Okay.
So here's just a tip. Where do you get whiteboards? Just get them off of Amazon or something. Go to Walmart, whatever. Yep. But get big, medium, small. And make sure that each one is task specific. See, the most challenging whiteboard in my house is the one in the kitchen. Because the kids will write on it. They'll write their grocery list on there and crap like that. Which I don't mind because we have a little space for that. What's the stuff I need to get tomorrow if I need to go to the grocery store? But they need to stay off of that as well because that's my mission essential task list for tomorrow's events. But yeah, I would go with that right there, big, medium, small, and have a specific use for each one. Dude, the whiteboards, if you're even just a little bit unorganized or you don't know how to prioritize, that's going to be a game changer for you.
There you go.
Some people I talk to a lot of people about this and they're able to do it on their phone or take notes or they carry notebooks. It doesn't work for me. That works great for some people. That does not work great for me.
Right.
I want to see that several times a day as I'm walking in and out of the garage.
Right.
I want to see those big, bold dates there. I want to see that one in my kitchen, knowing that'll remind me of the crap that I need to get done tomorrow. Or the stuff that I need to get from the grocery store. And the one on my office wall, that's the big year's events. The big dates.
that calendar, that's just a calendar you can write on and erase.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it qualifies as a...
Yeah, it's a whiteboard.
As a whiteboard.
They're all whiteboards.
There you go. Wonderful. That's it.
Cool.
Episode 22 of the University Badassery Podcast. Thanks again to our show sponsors. Thanks again to Mac for opening his home, letting us come in here and do this. Thanks to you listeners. Be sure to share the podcast wherever you can. And remember that we would love to have you as a part of the Pat Mac Keep the Blaze Alive coaching squad. Seriously, guys, if you'd like to go to your next level, if you're feeling a little stuck, a little plateaued in life, it's really the power of the influence that is being brought about by what has been created in this coaching squad, not just from Pat and Mac, but also from all of the squad members. So you might meet some of your new best friends in the Keep the Blaze Alive coaching squad. There are 3 tiers for you to choose from: Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1. Each one has corresponding benefits. And you can learn more about that today at patreon.com/life. No, that's my old.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/coaching squad. And that's it. So remember, whatever you do, Mac,
don't suck.
Metzel up.
I was just going to do that.